Hello and welcome once again to today's lesson. My name is Adam. I'm an English teacher from the States. I'm here as always with Tuan, an English teacher from the UK. And Tuan, we have quite a few videos out now. I think we're well over 200 now, and a lot of different ones. So we've got the phrasal verbs, we've got grammar, we've got some kind of simple 1-minute English type of stuff, but I think our most important ones, and I hope you agree with me, but our most important ones are the training videos that we put out. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that they're pretty important.
Yeah, so I think too many people are focusing on kind of studying grammar, learning vocabulary, just kind of collecting English. They just, ooh, that's interesting. I'll collect that little bit of information. And then they're just trying to get smarter at English. It's kind of how I look at it. And I think it's a bit of a trap because it's not really how much English you know, it's how much English you can actually use. So if you're trying to speak English, it doesn't matter if you know how to use, if you know the grammar for the passive tense or for the perfect tense. None of that really matters unless you can use it. It's kind of how I look at it. And that's why we make the training videos. So to start out today, we're going to take a look at the most recent training video we put out. And we put these out every Saturday, or we have been putting them out every Saturday. And we've got around 50 of them online, I believe now. And these videos are to improve your speaking, listening, and pronunciation. So today, to start out, we're going to walk through one of our videos to make sure you're using it correctly. So let's go ahead and have a look at today's video. So part one, it's going to tell you the instructions here, but part one is just to sit back, relax, and listen. And the reason we do part one is because when we're listening, we want to listen all the way through. We don't want to stop if we don't understand a word. We want to continue listening all the way through. Because sometimes you get that sort of panic, right? It's happened to me. Of course, I live in Japan. I'm sure it's happened to Tuan. You're listening to someone speak. They say a word that you don't know and you panic and you stop listening. But really what we want is listen to the entire conversation, listen to the entire sentence. And most of the time we can understand what the speaker is saying. So part one, we're just trying to listen and see how much someone can understand. So let's go ahead and start here. Hello, welcome to Acquire by Novel. My name is Adam. For part one, please just sit back, relax, and listen.
Are you ready to go?
Not quite. I need to finish up a few things.
Okay. How long do you think it will take?
It'll probably take 5 minutes.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Okay, so that was part one. And again, there should be no pressure for part one. You just want to listen to as much as you can. Try to understand as much as you can. And again, don't stop listening. Just continue listening. So you probably only need to do that once. Once is generally enough for part one. For part two, we're going to listen and repeat. So listen and repeat after the speaker. So there will be a short pause after each speaker. And there will not be any words, there will not be any text at the bottom of the screen. And this is on purpose. We don't want you to look at the words. The words can be a little distracting. So if you're looking at the words, you're not really concentrating on the sounds. We want to listen to the exact sounds that are made, because especially in English, the written form and the spoken form often don't match up very well, right? There's many words that sound differently than they're written, right? So for part two, we're going to listen and repeat after the speakers. And do your best to match the pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm that you can. And again, this is to work on our all forms: speaking, listening, pronunciation. So let's go ahead. Now for part 2, please listen and repeat after the speakers.
Are you ready to go?
Not quite. I need to finish up a few things.
Okay. How long do you think it will take?
It'll probably take 5 minutes.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Okay, so the next part, part 3, is the same thing: listen and repeat. But however, this time there will be text at the bottom of the screen, so you will know exactly the words that Tuan and I are saying here. But again, we want to focus more on the sounds, focus more on the rhythm and intonation. I'm talking a lot, Tuan. You have anything to add for this?
I think, yeah, if people have any feedback about how long they feel the pause is too short, or if they feel they need a little more help with some, yeah, please let us know in the comments. Just give us any feedback would be yeah, really beneficial for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point. Yeah, and if the videos we do have, if the pause is too short, it's okay to pause the video while you do it as well, right? So yeah, again, next one, it's the same: listen and repeat, but this time there will be text at the bottom. In part 3, we're going to listen and repeat again. This time there will be text.
Are you ready to go?
Not quite. I need to finish up a few things.
Okay. How long do you think it will take?
It'll probably take 5 minutes.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
All right, so that's part 3. And it's okay to do that more than once. Don't be afraid to go back and do that more than one time. It's going to be difficult to get really good at it, anything doing one time. Okay, so that's part 3. Part 4, in my opinion, is the most important thing you can do to improve your speaking, listening, pronunciation at home. And this is we call this overlapping. Some people call this shadowing. And there's a little bit of confusion about what shadowing is. Do you speak at the same time as the speakers? Do you speak just after the speakers? In my opinion, I think it's best to speak at the same time as the speakers, because you can really tell when you make a mistake, when your intonation is a little off, when your pronunciation is off, when your rhythm is off. It's really easy to tell. And 100%, I guarantee you cannot do this very well. The point is not to be perfect. You cannot be perfect doing this. Even, I will show you, I'm going to do this. I made this video with Tuan. I cannot do it perfectly. And I made the video. So the point is to try to make a video. We're trying to change the way we speak. We're trying to kind of perfect our pronunciation, rhythm, intonation. And that's what this part will do. And as you understand the conversation, as you understand how these words are pronounced, then that's when our listening gets much, much better. That's when we start hearing these things and it just clicks right away. There's no delay. There's no translating in our head. This starts to become automatic if we do this basically every day, or we do this, several times a week. So the next part, overlapping, we're going to speak at the same time as the speakers. Okay. And again, it'll be difficult. Don't worry. I will show you that even I can't do it perfectly. So here we go.
Part 4 is overlapping. Overlapping means to speak at the same time as the speakers. Please be sure to repeat this section many times. Good luck.
Okay, here we go.
Are you ready to go?
Not quite. I need to finish up a few things.
Okay.
Okay.
How long do you think it will take?
It'll probably take 5 minutes.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
So, as you can see, I can't do it perfectly either. You probably couldn't do it perfectly either. That's okay. That's not the point. So, for example, if I wanted to improve my British accent, I could just work on copying Tuan's pronunciation, copying his rhythm, copying his intonation. And I promise you, I guarantee you, if you do this consistently, you do this several times a week, you'll notice differences. Your speaking will be more automatic, your listening will come quite easier, and your pronunciation will improve. So most people have done a lot of studying just by using books. But when we use just a book, the words don't sound the same, right? So this last sentence, okay, let me know when you're ready, is not how that sentence actually sounds, right? So when we read it, okay, let me know when you're ready, it sounds nothing like that when we actually use it. It's let me know when you're ready. Let me know when you're, right? So we need to associate, we need to connect, let me know when you're ready with the meaning. But when we study from a book, we're saying, okay, let me know when you're ready. That's when we're connecting. But we need that, let me know when you're, right? Those words kind of get smushed together a lot and sound nothing like you would expect them to sound. That's why it sounds like native speakers are speaking very quickly and it's hard to understand. But if you practice this, if you do these techniques, native speakers will sound much slower. They'll be much easier to understand. Again, I promise you, I guarantee it'll help you. This is the #1 way I use to learn Japanese. And if I were to learn any other language, I would do the same thing. Okay. So you should probably do this section quite a few times. I would say 3, 4, maybe 5. So on our videos, you can, of course, just go back. And maybe in future videos, we will just put this section back to back to back to just keep practicing, keep practicing. It's all about repetition. Did I miss anything, Tuan?
No, I think that's quite right. Like what you said. I think a lot of people, I think it's a big problem in Japan. A lot of people, their grammar or their understanding might be maybe around a B1 or a A2, but their speaking is less than A1.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big problem. It's and it's why learning English in school is not always ideal, right? If you're learning English for academic reasons, to write papers and to read academic papers because you're some kind of researcher, maybe, that's an okay way to learn. But if you want to actually speak to people, you need to be doing some training, or you need to be speaking to people every day. But obviously, most people don't have someone to speak with every day.
It's a big problem I have with lots of students. I teach them something, they say, yeah, I know this, but they don't use it.
Right. Exactly.
They think they know it. They looked it in the book, they read the grammar rules, they think they know it, but they never use it.
Mm-hmm. You have to use it. You have to practice. And some people are always tell me they're very shy about speaking, so it's hard for them to improve. Well, you can do this at home in your room, nobody around. That's why this technique is important. I'm also, I don't know if shy is the right word, but I get easily embarrassed. So this was my way of practicing by myself before I went out in the real world and had to ask for something at a restaurant, or had to, talk to a coworker in Japanese, something like that. So this was my way to improve and test myself before I went out and embarrassed myself in public. Okay. So the last part, part 5, is really important for your speaking. Now, when we speak, obviously we don't want to be thinking about what we're going to say. We don't want to be translating from our native language in our head and then have those words come out. We need those words kind of right front part of our brain, right on our tongue, coming out very easily. So part 5, what we do is there is no audio. It's just the pictures. It's just the little bubbles here that pop up, and you have to say the words. Now, obviously this will be difficult for you because you've maybe only watched this video one time. So you should do part 4 several times until basically you know the entire conversation. And this conversation is only, I think, 7 sentences or so, right? It's really not that much. It's a very short conversation. All of our videos like this are short conversations, and that is on purpose. We don't want a really long conversation. It's difficult to do these techniques with something like a movie. If you're going to do it with a movie, then you want to cut that movie down into about 20-second segment, right? But that's why we make these videos, because they're very, very short, very easy to do. So part 5, what we do is there is no audio at all. It's just the pictures, and you have to add the words. This is the biggest test. Basically, if you can do part 5, it means you have practiced enough. If you can't do part 5 at all, you should go back into part 3 and part 4 over again until part 5 is relatively easy. So when I was studying a lot of Japanese, I would practice a short conversation until I could write down the whole conversation without looking, or I could say the whole conversation just from memory. Okay, so part 5, and we'll try it here. I'll try to do it by myself and we'll see how I do. But there's going to be no audio. It'll just be me talking, my part and Tuan's part. So hopefully I do good, because again, I wrote this conversation, so hopefully I can do it. So let's see here.
In our final section, you will only see the pictures. Please try the conversation by yourself.
Are you ready to go? Not quite. I need to finish up a few things. How long do you think it'll take? Probably 5 minutes. Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Thanks for watching.
Okay, I think I did it. I think I got it 100%, maybe. Is that right? So anyway, these videos, we've got almost 50 of them out right now. Is that right, Tuan? We've got about 50 of those videos.
Yeah.
So, and yep, and more every Saturday is generally when we put out those training videos. But again, I can't stress it enough. That is 100% the best way, I think, to study by yourself. I think it's more important than studying grammar. I think it's more important than studying vocabulary. If you want to speak, I think that's the way to do it. And it's similar, like, for example, I like to compare learning a language to weightlifting, right? Like, I know how to lift weights. I've done it before in the past. I know proper technique. I know the exercises you should do. But if you look at me, I don't have any muscles. So why don't I have any muscles? I know how to lift weights. Well, it's because I don't lift weights. I don't train. So obviously I don't have any muscles. Another example is I know how to play guitar. I know where to put my fingers on the guitar. I know where to do it to make certain sounds, but I never practice. So I'm terrible at guitar. So by practicing, you can get better at English 100%. I guarantee it. I would say these exercises, if you spend 15 to 30 minutes a day, you're going to improve. I don't know how else to say it. I could scream at you, but that's probably not going to help. Anything to add there, Tuan? Okay, so let's go back and get into our normal lesson, and we'll break down that conversation that we just had. Okay, so the first line in the conversation was this one. Oh, I'm sorry, no, it wasn't this one. The first line in the conversation was this one here.
Are you ready to go?
Right. Are you ready to go? Just means should we go or shall we go? British people would use shall in this situation, Tuan?
Maybe more so.
Okay. Americans rarely use shall. Americans would probably say should. In any situation, a British person would say shall. So shall we go? Should we go just means, are you ready? We're getting ready to go to lunch. So shall we go? Should we go? The next line is
not quite.
Not quite means almost. So not 100% ready. Okay. And we'll get into quite a little bit here shortly. The next line.
I need to finish up a few things.
This means there are still 2 or 3 things I need to do before I can go to lunch. So we didn't talk about this earlier, Tuan, but why do we use finish up instead of finish?
To complete.
Yeah, finish up has more of a, I need to, I've started, I need to complete these things, right? But there's really not a big difference there, right?
I need to finish a few things. I need to finish up a few things. Yeah, I guess it's just one of the expressions maybe a native would use more so than non-native.
Yeah, to me, finish up sounds more natural, but if you used finish in this situation, I wouldn't think anything was strange, right? So don't worry too much about it. But yeah, that's kind of, sometimes people get tripped up on this finish up versus finish, but basically same thing. I need to finish a few things. I need to finish up a few things. And the last part here, or the next part.
Okay. How long do you think it will take?
So how long do you think it'll take? Will it take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes? How long are we talking here? I think in this conversation, I think Tuan's hungry. He's ready to go to lunch. So he needs to know how long we're waiting here. So how long will it take you to finish up your work? And
it'll probably take 5 minutes.
So this is a tough one. So I say around 5 minutes. Tuan and I disagreed on this. How long do you think it's going to take me, Tuan?
I think longer.
Longer than 5 minutes.
10,
right?
15. Yeah.
Right. So we often say probably 5 minutes. That just means a little bit of time, right? It doesn't always mean 5 minutes. It kind of means it'll take me a little bit of time. Not an hour, but
yeah. People say, just give me a second or give me a minute.
Yeah. So obviously it's not a second or a minute. Just give me a short amount of time, right? So often we'll say it'll take 5 minutes, but who knows? Sometimes 5 minutes is different for different people. Sometimes it's actually 5 minutes. Sometimes people say 5 minutes and it's 15 minutes. I'm sure that's not an English thing. I'm sure that's true everywhere in the world. So people know that. Okay. And the last line.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Okay, let me know when you're ready. tell me when you are ready. Of course, let me know means tell me. So tell me when you are ready. So the intonation here doesn't sound very happy, does it? Let's listen one more time.
Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Okay, right, that, okay, sounds a bit hurry up, right? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the grammar point for today. So talking about quite. So in the conversation, I said this one.
Not quite.
Not quite. And not quite is a little difficult. In this conversation, not quite means not 100%, not completely. So often quite can mean completely. Sometimes quite will mean fairly. And what would we say? Fairly is just a little less than very. Is that right? So what if we, does that make sense? Very is stronger than fairly.
Similar to pretty, but that one's difficult to use
right.
too. People are more familiar with that.
Right. And quite can also be used to be less direct. So we don't always want to be very direct, straight ahead. Sometimes we kind of soften our language and we use quite to do that. So let's look at some examples of this and we'll make some sentences. So unfortunately, on YouTube, you'll see some videos like this that says, learn English in 2 hours, or learn English in your sleep, something like that. I don't want to ruin anyone's dream, but you can't learn English in 2 hours. And you also can't learn English in your sleep. So sorry to ruin your day. But with quite, we often use these words up here. So quite sure, quite right, quite true, quite rude, quite clear, different, incredible, amazing, certain, wrong, safe, obvious, unnecessary, extraordinary, impossible. Okay. So Tuan, with these ones, learn English in 2 hours, learn English in your sleep, which word would you use with quite? How would you make a sentence with quite here?
So you had a very strong opinion. And if we want to use it in a strong opinion, these words are for completely. So you can say it's quite impossible.
Right.
To learn English in your sleep.
Impossible.
Yeah, it's quite impossible.
Right. So it's quite impossible to learn English in 2 hours. It's quite impossible to learn English in your sleep. And this is completely, right? That is my opinion. I don't even think it's opinion. It's true. I think it's quite true that you can't do this, okay? So what's another example that we could use maybe to soften the meaning, your meaning?
I'm not quite sure.
Right. I'm not quite sure you can learn English in your sleep. And this is, say, indirect.
I think it's impossible, but I am softly saying.
Right. So yeah, your meaning, the meaning of this sentence is, I 100% think or don't think you can learn English in your sleep, or you can learn English in your sleep, or in 2 hours. But yeah, would you say, I think we talked about this a little bit before, but would you say this is more of kind of a British way of saying things?
I think so. I think British people use quite more
Yeah.
than Americans.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Americans don't use this, but I notice British people use it a lot more to be a little bit more.
Especially with this indirect way. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, yeah. There's kind of a stereotype that British people are more polite than Americans, right?
Yeah, more indirect, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this indirect thing is a bit more polite. It's a bit more, maybe not polite or civil. We don't want to start a fight. So yeah, it's just a little bit more passive. Maybe Americans can be a bit more aggressive at times. Possibly. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at another example. So we have someone driving their car, throwing what appears to be a fast food bag out the window here. So Tuan, what would you say here?
So the word to match here would be rude. So you can say it's quite rude to
Right.
throw litter out your car.
It's quite rude to, what do you say, to litter.
Litter.
Right. And how would we say this one? Is this indirect or is this completely?
This is completely.
Right. It's completely rude to litter. It's completely rude to throw garbage out of your car while you're driving. Is that okay? Did we have any other ones about this?
I think most of them are using completely. So it's quite wrong. It's quite, I guess it's quite wrong to do that.
Yeah, all of these up here are basically going to mean completely, right? So it's quite wrong to throw litter, to throw trash on the ground, right? Okay, the next one. So if you look at this picture, is this an easy to understand picture?
Yes, it's very easy to see.
Right. So despite at the bottom, it says no swimming alligators. I think we can still, just by the pictures, we can understand what this means. So how would we use quite with this one?
So because it's, we can say it's quite clear or it's quite obvious.
Yeah. The sign is quite clear, or the sign is quite obvious. That might be a new word for people. What does obvious mean?
Easy to understand, easy to see. So you can see this picture, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to swim. It's
Right.
obvious because alligators are dangerous.
Right. Yeah, it's obvious. If you look at me, like we talked about before, no muscles, it's obvious. It's quite obvious that I don't lift weights. Something like that. Okay.
Never know.
It's quite obvious that I'm not Japanese. Would be a good one, right? Quite obvious, right? Easy to understand. Okay, I think we had one more here, right? A bit of a passive one, right? So these are completely. Do you remember the one we thought of for a bit passive, a bit indirect?
Forgotten.
It's not quite.
It's not quite safe.
Right. It's not quite safe to go swimming here, right? It's a bit more indirect, right? Because obviously it's not safe to go swimming there. But we can say it's not quite safe to sound a bit more indirect with that one. Okay. And the next one, we have no pictures because I want to share one of my favorite Instagram pages. This guy here. So here, This guy has created, his invention is some sponge glasses. They go underneath your eyes. It says they are the sobbing spectacles. So it lets the tears flow without the mess. So this means you can cry and the sponges below will soak up your tears. So Tuan, this invention, what do you have to say about it?
It's, you can see the name.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
unnecessary. So
Right,
yeah,
right,
we
right.
can say it's quite unnecessary.
It's quite unnecessary, right? Those glasses or those sobbing spectacles are quite unnecessary. And yeah, we'll go back and make sure you get the name of the page here. It's called Unnecessary Inventions. So if you're on Instagram, you can follow this guy. I think he also has a book out as well, but he has many crazy unnecessary inventions. For example, it is a smartphone case with a mirror attached, so you can do a mirror selfie. It's called the Anytime Selfie System. So obviously many people take selfies in the mirror. With this guy, you can take a selfie in a mirror wherever you go because it's part of the case. So very unnecessary, quite unnecessary. This is a good one. There's a little video here, I believe. Yeah. He invented a way to blow out birthday candles without having to actually blow on them. So the candle cannon. There you go. Quite unnecessary. Should we do one more?
Sure.
Oh, have you seen this one? He invented a coat rack that every time you come home, it will pour you a shot of alcohol. So you hang up your coat, it pours you a shot of alcohol. There you go. So every time you come home, you can have a shot of alcohol. Again, quite unnecessary. So he's got a lot of really funny ones on here. So if you want to give him a follow, called Unnecessary Inventions on Instagram. I'm sure that he's on, looks like he's on YouTube as well. So give him a follow. Okay. Back to these ones here. I think we have one more. This one here. So we have the US, we have Japan, we have the UK. So how would we use quite in a sentence to talk about these three countries?
I think they are quite different.
Mm. And what does quite mean in this situation?
Completely.
Are they completely different? This one to me sounds more like fairly.
Okay.
No, am I wrong? To
Yeah,
me,
yeah, I guess. Yeah. It is
I
fairly.
mean, maybe the US and the UK fairly different. The US, the UK, and Japan quite different.
I was thinking, yeah, Japan and America.
Yeah, yeah. So if we just did,
Yeah, that's fairly. It's quite
these
different.
two are probably fairly different. Japan is quite different, and the meaning is maybe completely, right? Again, this can be a little confusing, but usually in context, we often know what the meanings are. What's another one we can do using quite with these? For example, is it okay to talk on the phone in public transportation in these places?
In the UK, it's fine, I guess. People use the phone on the bus all the time.
Right. But
But in Japan, it's quite rude.
yeah.
Yeah, it's quite rude to use the phone.
It's quite rude to talk on the phone on public transportation. Right. In the US, I think it's okay. I think some people get kind of angry at the airport if you're standing in line, like for immigration, international flights, and people, businessmen especially, get on the phone and start talking business, and all the people around them are kind of annoyed, are quite
I think
annoyed.
now it's not allowed. You cannot use a phone.
Oh,
I
really?
see signs. Yeah, I think they changed the rules.
Good. So yeah, there's many different ones we can use with quite. Often these ones here, these meanings here will be completely, right? Like we had before. So quite sure, quite right, true, rude, clear, different. Many different ways to use quite. So please, in the comments below, try to make your own sentence using quite, and we will make any corrections if necessary. It's a good way to practice. So anything else we need to add today, Tuan?
It is difficult to use. Yeah, the ones you saw there, they're generally completely. Other ones you can use, but I feel they're generally more, the meaning is more fair or pretty.
Mm-hmm. Right, absolutely. And of course, like we talked about earlier, don't forget your English training that goes along with studying. Studying by itself isn't going to make you a great English speaker. It's going to take a bit of training there. So sitting and watching a YouTuber just talk about English for 10, 20 minutes is not going to make you a great English speaker. It's just, again, it's just collecting knowledge. Ooh, I know more things, but it's not actually going to make you any better at English. So Tuan's wife has ordered some more things on Amazon. He has to go. So for the both of us, thank you very much for watching, and we will talk to you next time. Thank you. Bye.